So some of you did not care for Chris Phillips' college football player projections, and that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not going to stop you. But we all know the real reason why you didn't like them was because if you knew mine was going to be 100% accurate. So let's go project the college football playoff in 2024. How many teams do I have going from the SEC? Who is the surprise roster that comes out of nowhere like we see every year? And also, which team is the one that has your mind blown? And yes, I do believe that there will be one on this list that will absolutely make your jaw drop. So what's going on, SEC Unfiltered? It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification down below, and of course, hit subscribe because this is your new home for SEC college football every single day. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me on the social channels, at Mr. Cole Thompson, my own YouTube channel, at Mr. Cole Thompson. Download the podcast version of the show. Make sure that if you love the podcast, leave a 5-star review. Tell us what you enjoy. And if you hate the podcast, well, you'd be lying to yourself, but I guess you can leave a 1-star review. And to keep up for all of our great needs, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by RHOBACK. Use promo code SECU for 20% off all joggers, polos, hoodies, shorts, much, much more. Look good, feel good this upcoming fall at RHOBACK.com. So let's just get this out of the way. I have 3 teams from the Big Ten. I have 5 teams from the SEC. I have 2 teams from the ACC. I have 1 team in the Big 12, and I have 1 Group of 5 winner. Naturally, we're going to go in the order of how I think this all prevails. Number 1, no surprise here if you've been paying attention to me, I believe Georgia is the best roster in college football. I do believe that they will drop a game. I'm going to make this clear. Everyone in the SEC is going to be susceptible to at least 1 loss, and they end up getting revenge from that game. I believe that they lose to Ole Miss in Oxford, but then go to Atlanta to get the victory. They finished 12-1, top to bottom, one of the best rosters in college football. They have everything needed to sustain success throughout the season. They can lose a player. They can easily replace somebody overnight and feel like that they're just repeating the process. And that's what programs that are meant to win college football playoffs are supposed to do. That's what national championship programs do. It is a factory line, an assembly, if you will, of consistency, consistency, consistency. Offensively, they have the pieces. Defensively, they have the pieces. They have the depth, and they have the offensive line. You add all that together, that is a recipe for disaster for anybody in the SEC. And this year, nobody will be able to bat their eyes and say that Georgia doesn't belong in the college football playoff. Their schedule is rigorous. Their schedule is bountiful. And more importantly, their schedule is proven as a testament to how good of a program they are. And the same thing goes for Ohio State, who I have at number 2, also at 12-1. I believe that every team in the Big Ten is going to lose at least 1 game this year. Now, for me personally, I think Ohio State is one of the most complete rosters I've ever seen in college football. But I also know that the zoo in Eugene, Oregon, Autzen Stadium, is a nightmare scenario for any opponent to go play in. That's already got massive upset alert on because of what we know about this game. Dylan Gabriel, Tess Johnson, you bring over Evan Stewart, a great defensive line. I think it's too much for the Buckeyes that day. But of course, like I have with Ole Miss, winning in the war, but not winning the entire battle, same thing goes on at Indianapolis. You're a 12-1 roster. They're complete on every spectacle of the word. Wide receivers, yeah, you may not have a legit number 1 can't-miss phenom like Marvin Harrison, but you did a pretty good job replacing all the production around him. You did a pretty damn good job also finding ways to make up for lost causes on the offensive line. You also have a stellar defense that didn't need Caleb Downs, but said, you know what? We like playing with 3 safeties. Let's go ahead and add in Caleb Downs. You also have, I think, the schedule that is mountable and is personable to get you over the top. Ryan Day has got to prove it this year. I think he will. I think that everything is in place for this team to be successful in 2024 and actually go toe-to-toe with almost anybody for a national championship. Number 3, maybe a little bit of a surprise, but I got Utah. I think Utah is going to be the best team in the Big 12 this year. Death taxes Kyle Whittingham over exceeding expectations out in Salt Lake City. You know what Utah is. They are a physical force that is always going to be playing at a high-end level. Doesn't matter. And you already know of what to expect with Brayton Keithy and, of course, Cam Rising. When those 2 are on the field, you're winning Pac-12 titles. And the Pac-12 is gone, but the aura is not. They're still going to play that physical brand of football that is known out in Rice-Eccles Stadium, which also is another cathedral of chaos. I love using that word for especially stadiums that don't get enough attention. To me, that is where I think you are going to see a ton of upsets. You do not want to play in front of the Utes at night. It is just an atmosphere that you are not walking away from with a victory. I love some additions that they added in, especially Dorian Singer, the wide receiver from USC. I think that they can run through the Big 12 this year. There's going to be some separation between them and the next team. Maybe it's Oklahoma State. Maybe it's Kansas State. Maybe it's Kansas out of nowhere. Jalen Daniels, Lance Leipold, become coach of the year and Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not projecting that, but what I'm saying is I believe that they will be a cut back from what you know in Utah. Very solid team. And lastly, ACC winner. Everyone's going to make a joke about it, but you have to realize that this is the year. It has to be the year of the U. And I'm not saying that it is the year of the U. I'm saying it has to be the year of the U, which is why many people are projecting them not only to win the ACC, but also be the 3 seed. I'm being a little bit more cautious because I believe that they will have 2 losses in the regular season. And because of that, that's going to hurt their record. They actually lose to another team that I have going to the playoffs. So that might trickle down how you believe in this roster. But top to bottom, they upgraded. They did. You look at Sam Brown coming on over as a wide receiver number 2 opposite of Xavier Restrepo. You look at what you have with Cam Rising. You look at the offensive line. They're built to win in the trenches, which ultimately, for my money, is exactly what's needed in college football these days. And also, they have the defense. They've been doing this for 3 years. It's Mario's players plus the names that have been brought in with the image and the likeness deals. There's a reason why South Florida should have a team represented, and it is going to be the Hurricanes. They feel like a team that has to get over the top. Because if not, it's not now. When, Mario? When is the right time? The quarterback is there. The running back is there in Damian Martinez. The wide receivers are there. It's your offensive line. It's your defensive line. There's no more excuses. And the schedule, very, very, and I mean almost emphatically manageable for you to get over the top. Yes, you have some rivalry games in there, but who cares? You are the better team on that day. Number 5, I got Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss loses 2 games this year. I think one is to Georgia in the SEC championship. How about this for a second? We are really talking about Ole Miss finally making it to Atlanta. That last dance aura that we have been fantasizing on for years has finally arrived. This team comes back. They realize what they have. They realize what they are. They realize what they can be. They go out and they add in the right pieces on the defensive line, the right pieces on the offensive line. There is a factor, an element of sorts of just a high standard in that building in Oxford. And Lane Kiffin's making sure that everybody is staying the course right now. Everybody is dotting their I's, crossing their T's. They feel like a team that is not going to fumble the bag in any sense of the word. Yes, they have some games at the very beginning of the year that are going to be relaxed to where you won't see this offense pick up steam, which might end up hurting them in a game such as LSU, in a game such against Georgia, in a game such against Oklahoma. But I think by the season's end, what you will see is a dominant roster, top to bottom, offensively, defensively, that puts together stride after stride after stride of what you want. I believe Jackson Dart's the Heisman Trophy winner. I believe that you have a superstar wide receiver that could win the Biletnikoff Award in Trey Harris. And I believe that there is a reason why they said that this is the last dance, because that they have to get one more stop on the way to a national championship. And number 6 is Oregon. Plain simple. You're the second best team in the Big Ten. That's the second best conference in college football. You're top to bottom loaded in every sense of the word. There is no reason not to believe that this team, headlined by Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson, what they brought in on defense, what they have with James in the running back room, what their schedule says, they cannot get over the hump and be an immediate force in the Big Ten. They have not been building a roster. Let's just get this out of the way. For the Pac-12, the way that Texas has been finalizing their needs, they've been building for the SEC. Dan Lane's doing the same thing for the Big Ten, getting the big bullies up front, have a stable, sturdy offensive line that's not going to be pushed around, that's not going to let these bruisers of defensive linemen force their way into the backfield and get Dylan Gabriel. And the best part is that you got a quarterback that you trust. You got a quarterback that you believe can be a difference maker. And I'm not talking about Dylan Gabriel. We already know what he is going into his MD final process of college football doctorate degrees. I'm talking about Dante Moore, the guy that's sitting behind him. You've already seen glimpses of the success. Now, You just got to see if he can put it all together if needed to step up in place. And that's a big reason why I think Oregon might be the most complete team and the one that maybe does come out on top from this non-bye week rosters that ends up running the course and maybe making it to a national championship. Number 7, I told you there was going to be a wild card. Every single year, there's one team that just finds a way to put it all together. There's something about them that you don't know what to put your finger on. You don't know how to pinpoint what they're good at. You don't know how they're doing it. Last year, Washington, how are they winning so many one-score games? How were they just holding out? How were they just closing drives with that offensive identity? Because they had the quarterback, and they had a decent offensive line, and they had some weapons, and their defense stepped up in big times. And I think that's Virginia Tech. I believe in the Hokies. I believe wholeheartedly this year that the Hokies are going to do it. Brent Pry has been building this roster up. They have been trying to make something glorious out in Blacksburg, Virginia. They have the quarterback, 97% returning production. They have good wide receivers. They have a stable offensive line. They have a very sturdy defensive front. I love what they've brought in on the recruiting trail. They are young. They are up and coming. Kyron Drones is probably going to be the most underappreciated quarterback in all of college football going into 2024. Nobody is talking about him as a Heisman voter. Nobody is talking about him as potentially a dark horse to win the Davey O'Brien Award, the Maxwell Award. Time to shine. And you know what that stadium is like when Virginia Tech is good at football. People forget that Virginia Tech at one point, when you had Frank Beamer, father of Shane, this was a team that could go far. This was a team that nobody wanted to play on Saturdays. And when you heard Enter Sandman, that was the call of game over. It just wasn't it. So I believe that Virginia Tech this year, they make a statement win against Miami. They go 11-1 during the regular season. And then they lose to Miami in Charlotte. But you're not leaving out an 11-1 team. You just can't do it. You get to 11 wins, in my opinion, that's good enough to punch your ticket to a college football playoff. Number 8, I got Texas. I think Texas will lose 2 games. I know the running back room is missing that element with CJ Baxter, that big, burly running back that can push through the pines, force his way through the short yardage, pick up monumentous gains, and put them in a great situation, fresh set of downs. But we are underselling what Texas has. You have to realize that what Steve Sarkisian did this offseason to make sure that this roster was put together, well-equipped to go face off against anybody in the SEC with speed, power, consistency, and depth. That's a big reason why you don't doubt Texas. Yes, losing running backs hurt. Yes, losing players for your backfield is going to put more pressure on Quinn Ewers. But he balled out last year in the SEC. He had one of his best performances ever in a Texas uniform against an SEC team. And now he's going to be doing that consistently. Now he has the opportunity to do it against teams like Florida and Kentucky and Mississippi State and immediately show that Texas, we're not just back, but we're here to stay and we're going to be here for the long haul. So I think Texas is a 10-2 roster. I think that they will be in the college football playoff. I think that right now, when you look at where they are, they also will get to host a playoff game. DKR come rolling on in. You are going to have a major milestone matchup. And who is that against? A team that has to do it this year. Or, in my opinion, it's time to wave the white flag. And they are known for white because they have a whiteout game. I think it's Penn State. I think Penn State, when you look at their schedule, they got lucky because yes, they still have some challenging games ahead. Yes, they still have to face off against Ohio State. Yes, you have the game, of course, against West Virginia that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. But you don't play Michigan. You don't play Oregon. You play Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland, USC, UCLA. Those are all winnable games. You have a great running back room. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton are studs. They are easily 2 of the best players at their position in the Big Ten. They added in some wide receiver help. Julian Fleming, hopefully the former number 1 overall wide receiver recruit, can be the number 1 overall quarterback for Drew Aller. You brought in a new offensive coordinator, which is a big reason why I'm not as high on Kansas as others, because I thought Andy Koltnicki was the anchor. Very similar to what we talk about with Jimbo Fisher and Mike Elko. I believe Lance Leipold is a solid coach, but he's going to have to prove it this year with Koltnicki now gone off to State College. And ultimately, I think that's a big reason why you will see this offense look different. You know what their defense is. Death taxes always having a solid defense with the coordinator that's going to be hired as a head coach. Brent Pry, Manny Diaz, Tom Allen's not going to be there long. Tom Allen is a very good coach. He just was at an unwinnable situation most times in Bloomington, Indiana. So all the pieces are there. The schedule is there. It's manageable. Penn State has got to be a playoff team, in my opinion. Number 10. I know we're already on 10. Alabama. I know Alabama is going to feel like that being number 10 is a slap in the face. And you know what? For some of you, it is. But just go back and remember what you lost this offseason. You lost the ultimate trump card. You lost the one person who was truly the equivalent of Thanos in college football. And when he had the Infinity Stones, which was a great quarterback, a solid defensive pass rusher, 2 quality wide receivers, a future franchise left tackle, and a great run game, yeah, nobody was beating him. Go look back at Alabama. Go look back at the years where they were the best team in college football by the season's end. Solid quarterback play, great wide receiver, sturdy run game, great pass rush up front, one, if not more stable offensive lineman, and a quality schedule. That was Alabama underneath Nick Saban. And you know what? The crazy part is you might have that. You still might have that. It's just instead of going up with Thanos, you're going up with maybe Dr. Doom, the new major villain in the MCU. And that's going to be Kalen DeBoer. And he's going to take over worlds. And he's going to immediately command excellence. And people are going to know that his offense is not to be messed with. You go ahead and don't bring your 100% and even a little bit of extra. You're not walking out of there alive. You're not walking into Bryant-Denny Stadium and thinking that things are changing. It's Ala freaking Bama. The script A is still the script A. The pedigree is still the pedigree. The standard, as once was said underneath Nick Saban, is still the standard. And you have the pieces. They're just unknown right now. You have a great pass rusher, potentially in LT Overton that comes on over from Texas A&M. You have a great number 1 wide receiver, potentially, in Jeremy Bernard, who already knows the offense from his time when he was playing at Michigan State and at Washington. You have 2 great running backs, unknown mostly for that part, but still solid overall running backs, and Jam Miller and Justice Haynes. You got the quarterback. What if Jalen Milroe fits like a glove? What if this is just a dude that is an automatic, perfect blend of consistency, deep ball accuracy, and the ability to run? What if it's all that? Oh, and then you also have a very good linebacking core. You have a very good secondary that's unproven, but still very good secondary, headlined by Malachi Moore. And everything just clicks at the right time. Everything's there. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Alabama is not going away anytime soon. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Alabama is going to be right back in Atlanta this time next year, if not the next 3 years. And they're going to be just unveiling the mask and going, yep, we still exist. Couldn't kill the dynasty. Don't listen to people who are saying that this is going to be the down year of Alabama football. It's just instead of closing the book, you're writing a new chapter. And the chapter of DeBoer is going to be damn good. That's why I think they're going to the playoff. Number 11. You know I wasn't going to leave you guys out. Come on. I knew that all of you were waiting for me to say this one. If you're 10-2, I think you're in the playoff right now for the SEC. And I think Missouri's 10-2, so they're going to get in. I like their offense. I do. I know what they lost defensively. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that they're going to be the same roster. It would be foolish of me to go down that path. But I like their offense. I like their offensive line. I like what they have in terms of new players that are coming on in. Caden Green, now playing him at guard instead of tackle. You go ahead and get the transfer kid, Marcus Bryant from SMU. You also feel really, really, really good about where you are with your linebacking core. You feel really good about where you are with your secondary. You feel really good about where you are with your wide receiver room. I love the addition of the running back tandem. I think the running back tandem is fantastic. Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, those were 2 guys that last year put on a clinic at times. Oh, and on top of that, you like the transfers that you have defensively. They may not be superstars, but they're good. Khalil Jacobs, Jeremiah Beasley. You also talk about a guy. Sorry about that. You talk about a guy such as Corey Flagg. You talk about Chris McClellan from the defensive line. Schedule's manageable too. You lose 2 games. Maybe it's to Oklahoma and Texas A&M, but you beat Bama. What if that happens? It's a monumental win. You're not leaving a 10-2 SEC team out if there's separation between them. And if there's mainly separation between the other ones. And last but certainly not least, we got to talk about who is going to be the group of 5 school. For me, my money, I'm going with Memphis. I feel like they're the most complete team in college football that nobody is talking about. I love Ryan Silverfield's offense. I love that he has a quarterback in Seth Hennigan that does not get the respect he deserves. Love the running back room. Love what they have in terms of consistency on the ground. I like the wide receivers that they have in the building. They bring over Elijah Herring from that linebacker from Tennessee. That was the leading tackler for the Vols last year in SEC play. Imagine what he's going to do in American play. And they really only got one game that they have to truly feel like they're going to be an underdog, Florida State. And what if Florida State is not as advertised? Because you see that I don't have them in the playoff. You see I don't have Clemson in the playoff. You see I don't have a few other teams. What if those teams aren't as advertised? And it's because, well, Memphis ends up being as good as Florida State in a sense. Maybe not on the same level of talent, but on the same level as consistency. I like where Memphis is. I think Memphis is a 12-win team this year, including the bowl game, including the ACC title game. And so if you get 12 wins, I think Liberty is going to lose a game, so they won't be undefeated. And you play really well against a program, a really good program for my money in Florida State, you're going to the college football playoff. So there you have it. 4 byes: Georgia, Ohio State, Utah, Miami. First round of games in Oxford. Number 5, Ole Miss plays host to Memphis. Number 6, Oregon plays host to Missouri. Number 7, Virginia Tech. Oh, God, just imagine that atmosphere. Enter Sandman against the University of Alabama. And number 8, Texas plays host to Penn State. That's it for me. Those are my predictions. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think? Who was I too high on? Who was I too low on? Who do you think is actually really going to make the playoff? Do you think any of these teams could be switched up? Do you believe that these are the 12 teams? Like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure you're following us on social media: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. You want to follow me, you want to yell at me, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson. Make sure that you're keeping up with everything that we're doing found at SECunfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks. Later.